Alright, so this is a quick tutorial on how to use the time clock in Spectrum Evo. I'm going to go ahead and clock in as John Smith. And from here, I will go to Employee menu, Time Clock, and you'll notice here that John Smith has a few jobs assigned available to him because he does different things. And this is all set up in the employee screen, but in this case, he could be clocking in as any of these jobs, which would affect his pay rate and tips. So in this case, I'm just going to select that he's a server, and I'm going to click Start. Now, doing that doesn't clock him in. It's very important to note. That puts an entry in the time clock for his job. In order to complete the clock in, you must click in the clock in button here, and you'll notice there's a clock in recorded now. That's all you have to do to clock in for your shift. Then he'll leave this screen and later on come back. Go to time clock. When it's time to take a lunch for a half hour or an hour as mandated by the state, you would click the lunch in out button. That records the lunch in, and then when they come back from lunch, you just click it again and it brings them back out of lunch. And then at the very end of their shift, they'll just hit clock in, clock out again, and that completes all of their required punches for the shift. So they clocked in, clocked out, they had a lunch in, lunch out, and then if they agree with this, they'll click on this button and it will finalize their time record. I'll go ahead and do that. Time records have been submitted and done. Now I'm going to go through the manager menu. So as a manager or a supervisor, many times you'll need to go in and add punches, remove punches, or just simply edit punches. So I'm going to go ahead and go into manager menu, time clock, and we're going to pull up the punch for John Smith that I did today. So if I just click on the drop down here, I can do my start day today. And this is very important for any range you search. Something to keep in mind is that if you want to search through the same day, or for instance, if your payroll period ends on the 26th, you will always advance it by 1 day to capture it because the system records in 24-hour time format. So your end of pay period, whatever you put for your end, needs to be advanced 1 day further than what you're searching for. So in this case, I'm searching for the punch I just did on 7/23. So I'm going to go through 7/24 and I'll drop down and select the user I want to search for. If I leave this blank, it will give me every employee who worked that day. So I want to be specific here. Click search range and you'll see that here's the punch that I just did. Very important here. If this is incorrect, all you need to do is touch or click on this. And from here, you can adjust the clock in time. So I'm going to say that, in fact, he clocked in at 11 a.m. and worked to 7 p.m. And if I want to edit the lunch, I can as well. So if he came in at 11, he probably had his lunch around 3 o'clock and ended at 4 o'clock. And if this looks good, clock in, clock out, my lunch is right, I can just simply click Save. Now again, maybe somebody punched on the wrong day or time, or maybe they clocked in one day and didn't clock out at all that day, and you need to correct the end time. You can always change the dates as well. So I'm going to click Save now. It says Adjusted Time Entry. Now it won't refresh immediately on your screen here. So in order to see the change take place, you're going to do another search. Notice now, the times that I corrected are all here. So that's how you edit a time user's record. Now, if I needed to manually enter a punch for this user, I can go ahead and clear my date and time range, click New Entry for User, and do a search range. Now I have an empty blank time record that I can simply edit. And I can put this in and say this was 7/22. They clocked out 07/22/2019. Maybe they didn't take a lunch this day. Maybe they only worked a few hours. So I'm going to say they worked 9 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock p.m. this day. If I'm satisfied with this, I can hit Save, and that will adjust the time entry and add a manual punch. Now I need to do another search again to refresh to see that that is the correct date and time. Okay, so adding a user punch for the user, you have to make sure you select the user before you do that, and you have to search range again to find the blank one. But that's how easy it is. On the right here, we'll see for this user, for the time, period, and range selected, shows that I have 10 hours cumulative, and my daily overtime is 0, and total non-overtime is 10 hours. Now, if I want to email this time record, I can simply click email. All right, so let's do something a little different here. This is just a demo station, but if, for instance, our pay period were 07/01/2019, and I need to do through the 15th, again, 07, I'm going to advance it by 1 day beyond the 15th, do the 16th, 2019. I can, if I'm doing a full payroll report, not just for an individual user, I can leave this blank, hit search range, and all punches for all employees will show up here on the right. Now, this being a demo system, there's really not any hours in here. If I wanted to email this off now as a full report, I can. But that's basically how you do this. It's really, really simple. Again, if I want to go back and change John Smith time, I can go to current date. So again, 23 through the 24th, search range. Here's my punch. If I do it through the 26th, I'll see my second punch that I created manually. Actually, I don't remember what date I put that on. Let me see. It's probably the 7/22 through 7/23. There we go. There's my short shift and my full shift. It's basically all there is to it. This is not rocket science. I'm going to go back to POS menu again. I'm going to log out, and I'm going to go through the clock in process one more time so it sinks in. All right, so we're just going to use our demo user this time. I'm going to go to Employee menu, Time Clock. The only job available to this demo user is Bartender. Again, I have to hit Bartender. Start. It doesn't end there. We need to hit Clock In. Otherwise, the time record does not get saved. It just saves the job with a blank time record. So, click Clock In. There's my clock in. That's it. When it's time to clock out, I can clock out, or I can record my lunch in and out and clock out. But it's very, very, very simple. Hope that helps.